Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, and we are on part 2 of David today. So, last week, you know that David was anointed to be the king in the future. He was anointed by Samuel the prophet. And so, at the end of that story, once he had anointed David, Samuel went home, and then David went back to being a shepherd's boy. He was not going to be king for quite a while because he was young, so God had just anointed him for the future. But before he becomes king, there are still a few adventures that David goes on, so we're going to look at one of those today. So I am going to read for you from 1 Samuel 17, and I'm going to just do a few verses here and a few verses there just to give you an overview of the story. Early in the morning, David left the sheep with another shepherd. He took the food and left as Jesse had told him. When David arrived at the camp, the army was leaving. They were going out to their battle positions. The soldiers were shouting their war cry. The Israelites and Philistines were lining up their men to face each other in battle. David left the food with the man who kept the supplies, and he ran to the battle line and talked to his brothers. While he was talking with them, Goliath came out. He was the Philistine champion from Gath. He shouted things against Israel as usual, and David heard it. And when the Israelites saw Goliath, they were very much afraid and ran away. So David asked the men who stood near him, "What will be done to reward the man who kills this Philistine? What will be done for whoever takes away the shame from Israel? Goliath is a Philistine. Why does he think he can speak against the armies of the living God?" David's oldest brother, Eliab, heard David talking with the soldiers, and he was angry with David. He asked him, "Why did you come here? Who's taking care of those few sheep of yours in the desert? You've just come down here to watch the battle." So David asked, "Now what have I done wrong? Can't I even talk?" He then turned to other people and asked the same questions, and they gave him the same answer as before. Some men heard what David said and told Saul, and then Saul ordered David to be sent to him. David said to Saul, "Don't let anyone be discouraged. I, your servant, will go and fight this Philistine." Saul answered, "You can't go out against a Philistine and fight him. You're only a boy. Goliath has been a warrior since he was a young man." But David said to Saul, "I, your servant, have been keeping my father's sheep. When a lion or bear came and took a sheep from the flock, I would chase it. Goliath the Philistine, who is not circumcised, will be like the lion or the bear I killed. He will die because he has stood against the armies of the living God. The Lord saved me from a lion and a bear, and he will also save me from this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, may the Lord be with you." Saul put his own clothes on David. He put a bronze helmet on David's head and armour on his body. David put on Saul's sword and tried to walk around, but he was not used to all the armour Saul had put on him, and he said, "I can't go in this. I'm not used to it." Then David took it all off. He took his stick in his hand, and he chose 5 small stones from a stream. Then he went to meet Goliath. Goliath looked at David. He saw that David was only a boy. He looked down at David with disgust. "Do you think I am a dog that you come at me with a stick?" He cursed David. He said to David, "Come here. I'll feed your body to the birds of the air and to the wild animals." But David said to him, "You come to me using a sword, a large spear, and a small spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies. You have spoken out against him, and today the Lord will give you to me. I'll kill you and cut off your head." As Goliath came near to attack him, David ran quickly to meet him. He took a stone from his pouch, he put it in his sling, and he slung it. The stone hit the Philistine on his forehead and sank into it. Goliath fell face down on the ground. So David defeated the Philistine with only a sling and a stone. He hit him and killed him. He did not even have a sword in his hand. David ran and stood beside the Philistine. He took Goliath's sword out of its holder and killed him, and then he cut off Goliath's head. Right, now that was a mighty long reading, but actually it was the very shortened version. And you will find all of that in 1 Samuel 17. And again, if you'd like to read that at home with somebody, or maybe you've got a storybook version of David and Goliath, then please read it. It's a really good story. It's a lot better than a good story, though. There are 3 things that I want to talk about very quickly about this story. Okay, 3 things we can learn today. Well, there's loads of things in the story, but I'm just picking 3, okay? So the first one is David spoke up. He put his hand up. He said, "Hello, me. I'll go." So there's this huge giant, he's shouting his head off, he's being rude about God, he's being rude about the Israelites, he's generally being terrible, and he's proper scary, okay, he's about 9 foot tall, and basically somebody's got to kill him, because if they don't kill him, then the Israelites will end up being the Philistine slaves. But everybody just is like, no way, can I kill him? He's huge, look at him, he'll mince meat of us, no way. And so they're all terrified and hiding away, except David. David looks at the problem, he looks at the situation, he looks at the issue, and he says, why is everyone hiding away? This man is speaking out against God, against the people of God. He can't say all that stuff. We need to go stand against him. God will help us stand against him. And so he spoke up. This little boy, all these men, all these soldiers in the army, and this little lad turns up with the food for his brothers. He's just there on an errand because he's a little brother, okay? And he speaks up. He says, hang on. No, this situation is wrong. You can't let him stand up there and shout off like that. This is not right. And he is the only person who does that. It's quite a challenge for us, isn't it? How many times do we speak out when things are wrong? There's lots of situations in our lives, especially in the world at the moment, where actually things are wrong, and we as Christians need to speak out and say, hey, no, that's not right. And lots of people do that in lots of different ways. But it's scary. It's scary to stick your hand up and go, hang on, I'm going to do something about that. That's not right. But you know, that's David showing his faith. He's showing his faith and his belief in God. He knows that God will help. And how does he know? He knows because it's happened before. Not with a giant, but with a lion and a bear. And to be honest, they're no fun to face either. So he knows that when he could have been eaten by a lion, God helped him. So he knows God will help him, okay? And he knows Goliath is almost worse than a lion, but he's like, God's helped me before, he'll help me again. So he speaks out. We need to be like David and speak out. Doesn't matter our age, doesn't matter what we've done, where we've come from, who we are. We've got to have faith in God and we've got to speak out. Speak out when things are wrong. The second thing is that David uses his skills, okay? David has skills, serious lion and bear killing skills. And David knows he's got them. He knows, I've got skills, I can do this. I've got experience, skills and experience. Not only do I know what to do to a lion, I've actually done it. I know what I can do in this situation. I've got skills, I've got experience. And you know what? Those 3 things, faith that God will help him, skills and experience dealing with lions and bears, those 3 things together, that's all he's got, really. And he takes those 3 things and he gives them to God. He says, God, I have faith in you. I also have skills and I have experience. And God takes that. He says, thank you, David. Thank you. I will take that and I'm going to add my God power in. I'm going to add my God power into your faith, into your skills, and into your experience. And together, me and you are going to defeat Goliath. And that's what they do. So when David picks up his stones, and he picks up very special ones, it says round, smooth ones. He knew what he needed. He knew the right type. He's done this before. He didn't want a jagged one. They don't fly so well, okay? So he wants a round, smooth one. And he takes that, and with his faith, okay, and the skill of the sling that he's done lots of times before, and with his experience of how to throw it, because he's done it before, and then with God's power, wham, bam, poor old Goliath gets it right here. And it knocks him clean out. That's God's power. Helped with David's skill and experience. And poor old Goliath goes down, out. And he's not getting back up again in a hurry. And then David kills him. And then, just for good measure, he chops off his head, which he had said he would do. And Goliath had said he'd feed his body, David's body, to the birds, but actually David did it. David chopped off his head, okay? And then the Israelites are like, woohoo! Goliath's dead, let's go. And they run after the Philistines and they take them captive. Happy ending, God's people win. But why? Because God and David came together. David's skill, his experience, and his faith, and God's power, and amazing results. That's the same for us. If we bring who we are to God and things we can do, our skills, our experience, things that we've done before, things that we enjoy, things that we're good at, you put that together with God's power and wow, off it goes. You can do amazing things with God's help. You hear stories of people who started something very small, a little small project, and it's grown and grown and grown because it's got God's power in it, along with the skills and the experience of the people and their faith. And that can happen to you. David was young. Now, you will say to me, Lane, you are always banging on about it. It doesn't matter how old you are. And I do. I say it in Zoom groups all the time. I read you stories all the time about it. And it's because I know so many adults that don't believe it. Okay? They think, I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm only me. I'm only little. So I want to teach you now, okay, while you're little, that God can totally use you. There's loads of children in the Bible. David was another one. And God can choose you. You don't need to be old, okay? You don't need to be an adult. You don't need to be sensible. All you need is some faith. And remember from the talk I did a little while ago when I didn't have any mustard seeds, only had coriander ones, that you only needed a little bit. A little bit of faith. That's what David had. David had faith in God. God can help me. And the last thing that will happen sometimes is that people will be like King Saul and they'll try and help. And this King Saul tried to help David by giving him a huge sword, loads of armour, and it was so heavy David could barely move in it. He could hardly lift it up. The shield was so heavy he just fell over with it. And sometimes people will say to you, oh, you're going to do that? Oh, well, you should do it like this. Oh, well, I think this. I'm terrible at that. I'm always telling people, oh, well, when I did this, this happened. And it's a terrible thing. Don't listen to me when I do that. Because you need to do it your way with God. God and you together with your skills and your experience. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be me. Don't try to be your mum. Don't try to be your dad. Don't try to be Johnny. Just be you. That's what David was. David was just David the shepherd boy. He took on Goliath with the same things he'd take on a lion as when he was shepherding the sheep. And him and God together achieved great things. So you can listen to people if they're giving you advice. Listen to it. David tried the stuff on. But if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. Take it off like David did. Okay? If they try and say, do it this way, do it that way, try it. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. Just say, no, thank you. Me and God are going to do this our way together. And I want to encourage you to do that, to be individual, be yourself, have faith in God and work with him, and I am quite sure that amazing things will happen for God in your life when you do that. Let's pray. Father God, I just pray for everybody listening to this talk, that they would have great faith in you, that they would be brave and stick their hand up when they see that things are wrong, that they would speak out against it, say, this isn't right, I'm going to do something about it. I pray that they would bring to you their gifts and their talents, their skills and their experience of what they're good at, and that they would allow your power to work in them like David did, so that together you can do mighty things for your name. Amen.